The fallout from the attack on Creed Financial is swift and severe, sending the mutant underground scrambling looking for answers and Lorna looking for a safe place to raise Dawn. Which brings up a whole lot of family issues, which starts to get a little clunky considering that her father is quite literally he who shall not be named. Like they literally cannot name him at all in the episode. Meanwhile, the Struckers head south to meet with Dr. Madeline Garber to try and get a hold on Reed's powers. And she seems nice, compassionate, understanding about the mutant's plight. So, of course, you know that's not going to end well. It's The Gifted, Season 2, Episode 8, The dreaM. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Gifted. So yes, of course, we're talking spoilers. Lots of them. Alright, so, good episode this week. Get a couple in a row, liking this. Not very action-packed, but still very taut, very tight, very well done episode. Everything was moving. There was a little lag time going on this week, which I really enjoyed. And we get a little bit of kind of emotional workout this week. Diving a little bit into Lorna's past, dealing a little bit in the Struckers' past, and all of the complications that tend to involve those particular journeys. So let's start things off with Lorna. Dealing with her own reaction to Rebecca's massacre, which they call straight off, of 37 people over at Creed Financial. I have to say, I like the fact that this episode picked up right where the last one left off. They're driving away from the bank, freaking out in the car. Very well done. It kept us threw us right into the aftermath of that attack, and that's something we get to see throughout the rest of the episode. Really, this becomes the spark that lights the fire of conflict, really, between mutants and humans, at least in the current sense. We got the fires all over town and everything, so that added a really nice background, I think, to all of this episode. But yeah, Lorna's reaction to all of this is not feeling really safe with my daughter here at the inner circle, considering that we got psychos on board. Now, yes, Rebecca has taken off, but we've got Reva and two of the Frost sisters out looking for her. They intend to bring her back or levy some sort of punishment. They're not really sure. They didn't really tie into that too much. But I don't think that means much to Lorna. She is seeing what the inner circle will do, how far they will go, who they will employ in order to achieve their goals. And she is very right in this reaction. We've had a lot of chats in the comment section and such about the differences between the inner circle and the Morlocks and the mutant underground and what everybody wants. And in some ways, the inner circle goals are not bad. They're looking for a safe place for mutants to live and be raised and just be who they are. Morlocks are the same way, that they've retreated underground to do that, and I think even the mutant underground wants that to a certain extent, but they're looking more for that tolerance, the living side by side with humans, whereas the inner circle is looking more for it seems kind of like a separate place for them, or at the very least where mutants are protected from human reaction. So the goal isn't bad. Rebecca is evidence of what they're willing to do, who they're willing to work with in order to achieve those ends. And while the reaction from everyone, Lorna, Reva, the Frost sisters, seems to be in regards to Rebecca's actions, that's not really enough for Lorna. I think she is still seeing through the willingness as how far Reva and such are willing to go. So her quest to try and find a safe place for Dawn to grow up makes a lot of sense. And I do appreciate Esme's kind of contribution into this, that she's agrees with her, has found a place in the Swiss Alps, a school for mutants, hidden. And God, that sounds so familiar to me, but I can't place if this is an actual comics bit. I mean, I'm thinking, is this like a secret brotherhood place who was named in this episode, the Brotherhood of Mutants. But anyway, from a comic standpoint, I couldn't pull it up. If you guys remember anything, please throw it down in the comment section, because really, when she said, yeah, School for Mutants in the Swiss Alps, I'm like, God, that sounds familiar, but I couldn't place where it could be. But this need for family, this concern with Dawn's upbringing, does lead us into all of our flashback episodes, sequences with Lorna, both her as a child and the cute 7 months ago with Marcos. And I have to say, I love those sections. They were cute, they were intimate, they were soft. These are two individuals that had painful upbringings, that have not had fathers or absentee fathers, or in some sense fractured families, really vowing to do something different. And I think it put a lot of these struggles that were going through the episode, that Lorna and such were going through, very much in a clean focus. These were their dreams, the hopes, the desires, how they wanted to raise their daughter, the world that they wanted it to be in, the type of parents that they wanted to be, which was then put in stark contrast with the reality of what they all have to deal with. Lorna, more to the point, a lot of flashbacks to her youth, dealing with not having a father around, or having it, knowing that there's a father out there, but not being able to name him, because, like I said, he is literally he who shall not be named. The producers have said they're never going to name Magneto in this series. They don't want to create confusion between the TV universe and the film universe. How long that will last, considering the whole Fox-Disney merger, well, we'll wait and see. But for now, that's the promise that the producers have made. And normally they have just snuck it in backgrounds and quick snippets and conversations, and that in previous episodes, and that's worked. Little clunky in this episode, considering that his presence or lack of presence is a serious storytelling factor in Lorna's development. But being raised without him, again, a lot of questions, a lot of lashing out. We get to meet her aunt, who she was sort of raised with. I guess the uncle had died, or it was the aunt's brother who died. Yeah, anyway. And so that's why Lorna had to go and live with them. But we get to see, being youthful, growing up, teenage, development, all of that, complicated enough. Throw in some bipolar disorder, really complicated. Throw in mutant powers. Yeah, you can see where things didn't go real too smoothly with her. And I love the little episodes that we saw, both her pulling the nails out of the fence and throwing them at the tree, to later on, even at the bar, somebody pushes too much, brings up her father. That's how she's going to lash out. And I loved her reacting to that guy in the bar, just, which car is yours? Lifting it up. Oh, yeah. And as soon as she started twisting it over, I was like, is she going to get distracted? Is it going to fall? Is there going to be a thing? I mean, why rotate? Why that high? What is this thing? Oh, that's right. You want to teach the guy a lesson. Okay, that makes sense. But her father, even though not there, still a presence in her life. We have the little gift, the little red disc with the M that also looks very much like Magneto's helmet, that she was given when she was 13, plus the ability to just call a police officer when she gets thrown into jail and have him apologize to her for locking her up and getting her and releasing her. So still a strong presence in her life. And I have to say, I really appreciated her arc in figuring out ultimately why he wasn't there, why he wasn't in her life. I thought that was beautifully done, realizing ultimately that I wasn't being hidden from him, I was being hidden for him, because she gets forced to make the exact same choice that he probably did too. My life is in danger. In order for my child to be raised properly and safely, they have to be away from me. Now, what was Lorna's line? I would rather have her grow up hating me than not grow up at all. So just the whole arc that we had with this was magnificent. And Marcos, the sadness and rage and confusion and everything. Just when he's just holding Dawn. I don't know her, how can I say goodbye? I mean, really, very tightly done. Very nicely done episode. Not overly sappy, just honest emotions, I think, really worked well in this episode. And then ultimately, of course, that she brings Lorna brings Dawn back to her aunt to be raised. Doesn't take her to the Swiss Alps school, which I think is also safer because then nobody knows where she is. Not even Esme, who, again, seems to be making a turn from a character standpoint, which I really appreciate. But I think from Lorna's standpoint, it's best if nobody knows where Dawn is. And that's the best way to keep her safe. So, yeah, just an excellent arc for Lorna and Dawn and Marcos, all of them. I loved how that was all handled this episode. Oh, and of course, I got to be sure to say the whole crown thing. At the end, again, with Lorna accepting what her father's done, being able to take his gift and reform it so now she's got her own little headdress. I mean, it's a couple of things. One, very reminiscent of Magneto's helmet. Two, it's got the M shape, so we're continuing that theme. Kind of curious how she made it green as opposed to red, but gift from Dad, magnetic abilities. I'm sure there was something intrinsic in the value that did that. So also more to the point is very reminiscent of her comics costume. So we get that cool tie-in with it all. So yes, has accepted herself as Magneto's daughter, as Polaris in that sense, still without having to name Dad. So it's cool. And the Struckers road trip. Another nice little sequence, very tight. I loved the opening shot of Reed there. Semi-conscious, drugged partially, not entirely sure, in the back of the van there. Just the whole angle it was done. It had to feel like he was very out of it, that it was very uncentered, which I thought was a great establishing shot. But yeah, they're heading down to meet Dad's old lab partner, or lab assistant, I guess rather, now a doctor in her own right, Dr. Madeline Garber, who is running a lab to try and help people with mutant abilities. And in the sense, and I love sort of how they set this up. One, giving her a kind of compassionate reaction. But also the discussion of the X gene is this. For some, it leads to powers. For others, it leads to something that can be called a disability, which makes sense, especially with some of the people. I mean, you're able to absorb energy, but you can't control its release. Yeah, that's not a good thing. If you're a guy that can create harmonic vibrations and things around you, but you can't control that and it's causing destruction, yeah, I mean, you can see where trying to find a way to regulate some of these things is a noble pursuit. And Madeline seems to be very compassionate about mutants as well. Even the whole discussion about them not being, there's not the one girl with Down syndrome who could help plants. As parents wanted a cure. Well, don't need a cure. There's nothing wrong with her. She just needs an outlet for her abilities, maybe a safe place in order to work them. So the structure that they had this set up was perfect and very positive, which means from the moment they showed the lab, I am waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like, this is way too good, too compassionate, too forthright. Something's going to go wrong in here. There is some darkness. There is something twisted in this sense. And yeah, why wait? Why wait to get to the point? It's suppressing the X gene. That's an ultimate goal or an option. Again, perhaps not necessarily Dr. Garber's plan, to help people with mutant powers, but if they are out of control, if they are dangerous, and possibly Reed's at the moment falls into that category, that there might be a way using the Fenris genes here, the Strucker genes, in order to find not a cure for mutantism, a reversal, a suppression. And look, didn't we deal with this last season? I mean, it took the X-Men movies three movies in order to get to this point. And this is the one thing that always kind of bothers me with a lot of the X-Men storyline and mutant storyline. They like to go very quickly for suppressing the mutant gene, stopping mutants, erasing mutants, that medication, the drill that can reverse mutant. It always bothers me. I mean, look, science has gotten pretty far in the past few years, for sure. But they always seem to be reaching out for science that is much further along than what we actually have. And we can't control any disease right now, genetic or otherwise in that sense. We certainly, how could we be able to do that to suppress a whole gene? So whenever these storylines come up, to me they always seem a little weak. Though I do kind of like where they're going with this, that there is that pursuit, that there is, again, this seems to be in someone whose hands seem to be good and noble in intent. Maybe not the best choices, but a noble intent. I mean, we even find in the Little Darker Things that her brother, Garber's brother, is the guy that founded the Purifiers. And so they've got this family squabble, a lot of family squabbles this episode. With him wanting to stop mutants because they're evil, and her like, no, how can people be hated for something that they can't control? Something that they were born with. That's a question for a lot of prejudices in these days. So anyway, I did like this whole episode. I like the arc. The Frisbee game and cheesy stuff with Lorna in college is a little bit much. But we had to get that arc so the lab assistant would open up to Lorna and let her know what was going on. So I don't think this is going to end up ending well. I don't think this is going to last. This is not what Reed was looking for, and I don't think they want to be a part of any research that could potentially end other mutants. Again, this is about mutants learning to be who they are and to live who they are, not suppressing a side for them. So, yeah, like this part was handled really nicely. We got a little family background too. Fenris twins also had the same dream thing that Lauren and Andy did. So, cool. But, yeah, all this good nature, good positive ideology is not going to end well. And lastly, Rebecca's on the run, and John and Clarice are out looking for answers and eventually start going down their track. I'm really enjoying Clarice in these past few episodes. Really is kind of a voice of reason. Again, bringing up the whole idea of what is the plan? What are you going for? Getting mad at John because he's acting like he's all invincible when he is not. And even if they're going to make stupid choices, she's not going to let them be stupid and alone as well. So I have to appreciate where Clarice is coming from right now. And yeah, looking for answers, going out in the middle of all of the destruction. Like I said, things on fire. They're burning down mutant foster homes. I mean, just awful stuff. Let's go out in the middle of this. Sure, that's a good idea. But yeah, ends up doing the track and the trail of Rebecca, which, when they do eventually catch up to her, I did find it rather interesting that John is acting like Rebecca's the one that's in danger. I don't think he entirely realized, in fact, I'm sure he didn't entirely realize who it was that he was talking to, that this was the person responsible for those 37 deaths and getting the whole city set up on fire here. I don't think that he was entirely aware of this. He's like, the inner circle's looking for you, and we're the only ones here that we can help and we can get in. Okay, at least he didn't offer help. He was just looking for answers. We got a little bit on Regimen, a tech company that's going to start to play out a little bit more. We'll find out more on the inner circle's ideas. But I'm glad they didn't push it. I'm glad that they didn't try to follow Rebecca anymore. I just thought that was really funny in that interaction. I was like, John really doesn't realize who he's talking to right here and the incredible danger that they're in. At least Rebecca was just turning them around and not inside out. Which does get us to our Scene of the Week for this week. And yeah, it's a small one. It's tiny, but it was really cool. And that's, of course, the alley sequence. One, I love Clarice pulling the contacts out, feeling the energy shift, pulling the contacts out. We got that cool, just little boom of energy around them from the camera when she did this. Give us a nice little visual clue into what she is seeing, that the energy is all wrong. It's all twisted and messed up. I like Clarice's powers being able to sense the weird dimensional shifting that Rebecca was doing. Then we get to search for something. What? Seems to go away. There's a car. Where did she get a car from? And they pull up the bags. And that shot of the twisted guy. So beautiful. So nice. I mean, okay, creepy, scary, bad. But an excellent presentation of Rebecca's abilities right there. How dangerous that she can be. I mean, I guess John should have really realized how dangerous she was. I don't know if he put the two and two together. Should have. Look, his actions later on dealing with Rebecca didn't seem dangerous or concerned. Or perhaps that is why, makes sense, Clarice was so mad at John afterwards, acting like he's invincible when he's not. Can't be invincible when you're turned inside out. Or you're looking like the guy that they found underneath the trash bags, all twisted and wrong, and everything was at an angle that should not be there. So, yeah, I thought that was just, again, small sequence, but between Clarice and her powers sensing everything, and then just that perfect shot of Rebecca's victim there. Just a visual, just a great visual presentation. Very simple, but I think very perfectly done. All right, just a couple of small things. One, Esme. I've been really enjoying her bit of a personal evolution, her little arc, her journey towards the light side, as it possibly could be seen. Happening more with this episode. First off, her concern with Dawn. She is bonded. She is concerned for her. That's good. But even that little scene where she is with Sage and they're looking for Rebecca and they're going through all of the city feeds and cameras and stuff like this. When her line is, we have to stop this before anyone else gets hurt. That is a heroic viewpoint. And I think this is really starting to separate. This is a great sign of her separating from everyone else in the inner circle, or more specifically, the other her sisters and Riva, is that her concern isn't just with taking the heat off of the inner circle. We have to find her before somebody else does. None of that. Her concern in that moment is we have to stop this before anyone else gets hurt. That is her focus. That is a heroic viewpoint, and I love this evolution of her character. We've been talking a little lately how the Mutant Underground seems to be a bit directionless. They don't have a goal, they don't have a plan. And as horrible as these incidents were, I think that has sort of helped with this situation. I mean, yes, again, horrible, but John's response specifically about why they have to do with something. If we don't respond, then we're done. I think does shine a bit more and gives a bit more focus on what the Mutant Underground does need to do. They are there to bridge between mutants and humans. Therefore, we have mutants that are doing bad things. They got to find out information on this. They have to expose this and therefore show humanity, or the attempt to show humanity, that not all mutants are bad, that some mutants will in fact work with them to do the right thing. Oh, and of course we're continuing our M theme for this season. How the assistant is calling Dr. Garber Dr. M. Again, subtle, but funny. Speaking of Dr. M, her line to Reed and Caitlin that The old medication was like a dam, but eventually the dam breaks and the powers are going to come out. So they need this new treatment in order to actually stop this permanently. I think maybe some darkness to her motivation might have been revealed when she said that if we don't do this, then you could die. Does she know that he could die? Does she fear that he could die? Or is she using the threat of death to motivate him to contribute to her work? I don't know. Feels a little bit like the latter, but not sure. Oh, and one person we didn't see this episode, Jace and the Purifiers. You know, with all of the anarchy going on outside, that group is definitely busy. But I'm actually glad we didn't see anything of that. I think it was good to focus on all these other storylines, and then I know we'll catch up with Jace and the Purifiers soon enough and see what sort of danger they're causing. But maybe, especially with the attack on a mutant foster kid home, is that going to be what starts switching Jace around? Hopefully. And Rebecca's fate seems to be in Shade's hands. I have to say, love that final little reveal. Well, look, I'm annoyed by all the musical songs that they do, the emotional song bit that they do at the end of every episode. Can they stop doing that? But Rebecca's little reveal is she's kind of hiding, scared, and then suddenly Fade appears with a knife to her throat. I thought that was just, it was dark and kind of beautifully done. But now, obviously, Rebecca's no longer the run, in Shade's hands. What is Reva's plan for Rebecca? Punishment, banishment, death, or a pat on the back? Kind of curious what Reva's going to do with her tool. All right, I think that covers everything. We'll just go ahead and wrap things up for now. Thank you so much for joining me on this review. And as usual, if you enjoyed it, share it with your friends. And go ahead and hit that like button. You can do both. Thoughts, ideas, and comments, you know where to put them. Right down in the section below. What do you guys think of this episode? Do you think they're ever going to switch up and call Magneto by name? And what are your opinions on the X gene suppression that seems to be a prevalent theme? Let me know what you guys are thinking. Throw those down in the section below. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Please subscribe if you're not a subscriber. You get to catch all these reviews. We've got more coming up. It's a longer season. Plus, we've got Runaway Season 2 coming up. I'll be dropping Season 1 reviews through December is my current plan, leading up to December 21st, the drop of Season 2, which is going to be all at once. We're not going to piece it out this time. It's going to be a total drop, so check that out. Anyway, you can do that, and all these reviews, the stuff we got coming up next year. Be a subscriber, hit this button right here. And I'll throw up a couple of our latest reviews for you to check out right there. So, that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.